Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Break Free with T Marie. I'm your girl, T Marie, the edupreneur. I'm also the founder of Kingdom Kids Empowerment Academy, the CEO of Impact Child Behavioral Services Inc., and the CEO of Soul Stables LLC. So if nothing else, let's just say I know a little bit about entrepreneurship. Today I'm going to have a special show. As you know, this show is for bold entrepreneurs, bold entrepreneurs, women in business, the men that want to listen to me in business, people who are doing it their own way. And so today I'm going to talk about this subject that I don't think people really think about when they talk about being a business owner. Who can I run to? Finding your business buddy, your business bestie, your peeps, right? Because not everybody understands this journey. And so, as always, I have my notes so I can follow along and make sure I give you all the key points so that you can dip your entrepreneurial tea bag in your cup of tea, sip it, drink it, swallow it, and make sure that you're following it. So, who can I run to? Finding your business bestie. When I was putting this together, of course, I was singing, "Who can I run to?" I had to. Sorry. But the point is, and it's really, really the truth. Who can you run to? Who can you talk to when you're really trying to do this journey, do this endeavor, do this thing, right? Called entrepreneurship. And so let me just put a pin in it, right? The reality of this journey is that it is lonely. It is extremely lonely. It is effortlessly tiring. But, and let me not start off with doom and gloom, it is 100% rewarding and fulfilling if this is your thing, right? If you were really, really called to it, you will get through it because the little wins that you get is like power pellets. I think I said this before. It's like, if you play Pac-Man and you get that little power pellet and they give you that extra boost to keep going, them little wins keep you going because you hold your hat on those accomplishments a little differently. Now, don't get me wrong. I think I mentioned this before. If you work a 9 to 5, you can be entrepreneurial on your job as well. Those wins, those crafty ideas, those things that you come up with and everyone rides with it or decides we're going to implement that, that is entrepreneurial. That is thinking outside the box because we know, I've said this before, the true definition of entrepreneurship is being a risk taker. And so, anyone who's out there, just so that I don't pigeonhole the whole term of entrepreneurship. Anyone who is doing things their way in their space, whether it's at the job or in your cubicle or in your suite or in your commercial property, wherever you're doing your thing, you are my friend and entrepreneur. So don't let anybody tell you differently. But there's just some of us who refuse to take the W-2. I'm saying that's me. I can't do it. I'm not a good employee. I get there, I do well, and then after a while, my mind just starts saying, I could do this differently. I could do it better. Now, can I? I don't know. But in my mind, I feel as though I can. And so after a while, I become a trash employee. But I digress. The point is, it is a very lonely journey. So, quick story. I'm going to go off my notes a little bit. Last week, I think it was Wednesday, I was beat like 2 feet. I say that often. I say I'm tired, right? But this time I'm gonna specify with you all. I wasn't physically tired. I was mentally exhausted, right? And so I'm at work. Sorry, I got a text. I'm multitasking, but I'm gonna stop. I'm at work. I'm sitting there, and one of my buddies walk in, right? And he say, out of nowhere, T, you need to get some rest. It's all over you. Like, dang, tell me how you really feel, homie. Like, dang. But when he said that, there was no denying it. I just said I knew I was exhausted. I knew that morning coming in that I was tired. I literally stepped out of my bed that day and shed a little tear because I was tired. And I said to myself, I'm tired. And I knew it wasn't a physical tired because I had the ability to get up. It was a mental tired because my brain, the monkeys, right? They were just running in my brain and I hadn't settled them. And I know that because I didn't get good rest. because I'm constantly thinking in my sleep. For those of you who are entrepreneurs or creatives, you know exactly what I mean. It's kind of why some of us keep a notebook on the side of our bed, right? Or keep our phone at hand and jump into Chat GPT and throw some things in there. It's that, right? Or you got the little mic and you say, yo, don't forget the da 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 da. Like it's some of us that's out there that really live like that, right? And so we do that to kind of purge our brain and get them ideas thoughts out. But when you don't do that and you try to just sleep on it with all those things still in your mind, it makes for restless nights. It makes for you waking up the next day exhausted mentally. And so that's the space I was in. And so I hadn't put on any makeup. I just threw on my clothes, showered, threw on my clothes, came straight to work. He looked at me. He said, "T, you look tired." Now, one could ask, is it because I didn't have on makeup? But if I'm being superficial, yeah, I could look at it like that. But if I'm being real, it had nothing to do with that. I knew how I felt, and he was able to look at me and tell me right away, "You look tired. You look exhausted." And then he said something that hit me. He said, "It's gonna happen to." Now, mind you, he's an entrepreneur. It's what he does. Been doing. He said, it'll happen to you before it happens to us. And that thing hit me. It hit me hard. Now we ended up talking for a good while, chopping it up, what we normally do. But that sat in the back of my head. And I instantly went in and said, that's my next show. Who can I run to? Who is the persons who they know the valleys, they know the ebbs and the flows, right? And they real enough to tell you, you look tired. You need to slow down. Get some rest. Don't do this, do that. It ain't going nowhere, right? And so that's what I'm going to dig into is finding your business buddy or your best friend or what have you. Who can you run to person? Because let me tell you something else that was told to me by my therapist. It's not going to be your spouse or your cousin or your mother. They don't want to hear it. They just don't. Because one, here go the reality, y'all. They don't understand it. Truth be told, an entrepreneur is probably one of the craziest people that you gonna know. I say that about myself. Like, who puts themselves through this type of foolishness on purpose? That's how you know it's a calling, because I could have said 2 years ago, it's over. I'm going back to work. I have a degree. I have a master's degree in business. I can use it somewhere. If nowhere else, I can go back to the school and teach. That's not what I went to school for. And more importantly, that's not what I moved to Charlotte for. And if I'm being really real with y'all, I had a situation that I'm not going to really go all the way into, but back in 2020, I had a personal situation that sat me down. And while I was sitting down, like mentally sitting down, God downloaded into me, yo, this is not what you're here for. And this is why I needed to get your attention a little bit, because you doing all the things and they look good. You teaching, you're paying your bills, you maintaining a house, but you're not happy. And more importantly, you're not fulfilled. And then the biggest piece of it is you're not living and doing what I purposed you to do. Yes, entrepreneurship has to be a calling and a purpose. Otherwise, going back to doing your 9 to 5. I promise you, because it is foolishness at times. It is, again, probably the most challenging and most rewarding. It's such a dichotomy. It goes from this side to this side. Who can I run to? So shout out to Kev. I'm going to give him that. He was the one who put me on this show, but also the one who's coming to my school and saw the vision and decided to come in. And he's also the one who was bold enough to look me in my face and say, yo, you look tired. You need to slow down. You need to drink some water. He told me that the other day because I kept getting migraines. He said, you need to drink more water. And that's when I had to realize, like, you really got to find your tribe, right? And it could be one person, it could be 4 people, but don't put that burden on your family, your friends, because they don't know that. Their job is to support you in another way. And it's my recommendation that you find that way, right? And don't put everybody in that same bucket, because you're asking them to understand something that's going to eventually hurt your feelings when they tell you, why you don't just go back to work? Somebody told me that one time. They said to me, and I respect this person, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to say I was complaining. I think I was venting. And I thought she was, would understand because she too is an entrepreneur. But there's different levels to it and there's different scenarios, right? And so I was, explaining to her the challenges and knowing my son's situation and all the things. And she said, now don't get me wrong, hear me out. She said, couldn't you just get a job? Wouldn't that be? And I was like, a job? I'm allergic. But I understood what she's saying from a pragmatic perspective, right? Like, get a job, make your life easier. You don't got to go hustle and hunt for it, right? But then God said to me, I'm sorry, I got a little bit of a tickle. God said to me instantly, and I was so grateful because it let me know that it's sitting right here on me, right? So that I can say this and say it with full confidence. I said, if I do that, then I'll be being disobedient. After what I've come through in this journey, for me to turn around, knowing He has brought me all the way to this point, I'll be a fool. It'd be disrespectful. It'd be a slap in God's face. That's what I said. That's what I said. And I believe that. I do. I believe I've given my business back to God. I believe I've dedicated myself to living a life of purpose driven entrepreneurship. I believe I'm doing something that is worthwhile and is for us, by us. Why would I do that? Because it's challenging. Because here's the thing, I didn't lose anything thus far, right? I am doing nothing but gaining traction. It may not look like that in the bank account yet, but what it does look like is I'm sustained. So anyway, let's get into my notes. You don't need 20 people, and I think I mentioned this, to be your business best friend. One or two. The question is, where can you find them, right? And so here's the difference. Is that what is a business buddy, right? Here's the difference. They're collaborators. They could be your mentor. They could even be a paid coach. Now, I am a certified life coach and a business coach. And so a coach could definitely be your buddy, as in they're going to hold you accountable, right? So again, let's not get it twisted. Your buddy don't have to be your best friend going out having, good time. That's not what this is about. It's about holding your feet to the fire and making sure you stand 10 toes in this thing that you committed to, right? And so, yeah, it could potentially be a paid coach. A business buddy can be peer to peer, like Kevin and I, right? And so it's so ironic because we're both from Buffalo. We're the same age. We grew up on different sides of town in Buffalo. And then we meet here in Charlotte. He's got more years and more skin in the game, and he's a male. And so that's another thing. There is a difference between being a woman in business and being a man in business. And sometimes, ladies, I had this conversation with some gentlemen that I'm working with now that I met this weekend. Shout out to Stan and Dennis. It was great collaborating with you guys. But Dennis was talking to me and asked me, like, what is it you need? And I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I need males to surround me, because there's something about a girl going into a room and there's something about a boy going into a room. Like, sometimes you need that energy to offset whatever spirit might be in that room, right? It could be misogyny, it could be sexism, but you got to be mindful, wise, and discerning to know this one ain't for me. This one is for me to fall back. Right? Same thing as some of you aren't going to like this. Sometimes you go into areas and you want to take over the area, but you Black. You might need to put a white person in front. Let them be the front person. You don't got to be in the front all the time. Step back, cash the checks, period. All right, I digress. So here are some signs that you're missing a business BFF or a business buddy, right? You overthink every move. Why is it a sign? Because your business friend will be like, yo, let's just be pragmatic. Let's just think this thing through. That gives you someone to bounce things off of, right? Again, it's a measure of accountability as well, because to overthink is just going to prolong the process of you moving forward. Let me say that again. To overthink is going to prolong the process of you moving forward. The goal is to move forward, momentum to gain, right? It's not to stay stagnant. And trust me, when you're in your own head, that's exactly where you're going to stay. Stagnant. So when you overthink your own every move, that is going to cripple your business. Thereby, it would behoove you to have a business person, a buddy to say, let's get out your head, let's think this thing through, and let's move forward. Now, it's up to you to hear them, process them. May not always be the right advice in that time, but remember, I always say, chew up the meat, spit out the fat, right? Chew up the meat, spit up the fat. If you respect them, they should be giving you more meat than fat anyway. But that's a whole other one. I'll talk about that in a moment. Another sign that you're missing a business buddy or business best friend. You feel like nobody understands your lane. Now, I spoke about this earlier. This is a cold world. Carl Thomas, old school. But it's lonely, it's tiring. And when someone just gets it, what's understood don't have to be explained. You understand what I'm saying to you? They understand. You look tired. You need to take a break. Do you need to be doing all of this right now? Same person, Kev. I sent him a text message a couple days later of all my flyers that I had just put out. Mind you, I do my own flyers because I'm still there, right? So I put out about 4 flyers in the matter of 2 days, which really is not a hard task, but it's a mind task, right? You got to have it just right. And I'm doing it while I'm doing other things. So multitasking is never good, never healthy. And so I'm doing it and I send it to him thinking I'm doing a good thing. I'm like, yeah, who not working? I'm bossed up. Yeah, son, I'm working too. And he like, yeah, but are you resting? But at the end of the day, like my mental health is more important than who's working more, right? He got a whole machine behind him. He got team. He has a team. I'm getting there, but I don't have it yet. And so he knew that all of them flyer making that came on me. And that's taken away from my time of resting my mind. And so it made me go back and recalibrate. Do I need to pump out all these flyers right now? It also made me think, do I need to post them all right now? Because that's a whole other mind thing, right? And so again, who can I run to? Having someone who can tell you those small things since you're doing too much. He didn't say that because he'll never say that. But what he's saying is, are you resting in between? Because I seen what it looked like when you go, and I feel you. Good for you. But it ain't gonna mean nothing if you don't rest, right? And if you laying down somewhere because you don't have a breakdown. That will happen. That is what he referenced when he said it'll happen to you before it happens to us, meaning women tend to have, now I'm not minimizing mental health for men, that's not what I'm saying, but women seem to have the breakdowns out in the open, right, before a man does. And I asked him the question, I said, why do you think this is? Now, I am not a therapist, so this is just personal observation, right? Anecdotal data, what we've seen. His perception or his rationale between why women versus men will have a breakdown sooner is because he said we care more than the average male. And what he means is certain things that we would just, a man would say, man, I'm not gonna let that bother me. We as women will. I have to say I concur. Because 2 days prior to that, I had a text message that came into me. I talked about it on my last show, and I was going with it. Now, I didn't text as much as I normally would have. I didn't clap right back. But it was a few justifications in there that I've done that I should have pulled back on. And the analogy was said to me, you should have been more Jay-Z than 50 Cent. I said, touche. And what that basically means is, even though I wasn't petty, I still did a little bit of back and forth. And Jay-Z would have just turned around because at the end of the day, that situation did me no forward progress. It gave me no momentum. What it did was have my shoulders like this and me stressed out while I'm trying to get my point across. Every text, my shoulders are getting tighter and tighter. It's not how we live in, sis. We live in shoulders down, chest out, head high, right? But I let that person get me in their minutia and they brought absolutely no value to me. So at the end of the day, I lost, even though I wasn't going back and forth and I said nothing derogatory. I still lost because it stressed me out because I'm the one with something to lose. Made so much sense. All right. So I'm back at signs you're missing one. You feel like nobody understands your lane. We get that, right? Next one. You're doing amazing things, but no one to share the wins or losses with. Oh my gosh, this is the one. It's so many times I want to call people and be like, yo, guess what I've done? And I had a friend and I learned my lesson. We're not friends anymore, but I had a friend and I would call her and tell her everything. And her response would always be, that's what's up. To this day, that triggers me. When I hear that's what's up in that monotone voice, that's what's up. It is the most condescending. I don't give a good doggone about it. Matter of fact, I'm really hating on it and not hating on me, hating that you've done it and I didn't do it. Let's always keep it in context. It ain't necessarily always about you. It's about what they can't do and you being a reflection of that. But anyway, she said it. That's what's up. And I'm thinking in my mind, she really don't care or don't want to hear this, but I have nobody else to share it with. And then when I'm sad, same scenario, like, but the that was up is a little different. Now it's because in their mind, you ain't as good as you thought. Again, a reflection, but still it's hurtful, right? And just, at the end of the day, who doesn't like to share their wins, their losses, having someone to connect to? That's with anything. You go through a breakup, you want someone to talk to, you get a new relationship, but even in that, you have to be very careful and mindful. That's why everyone needs to have their place. Everyone should have their buckets in your life. You got your friend you like to have a good time with. Don't tell her about serious stuff. You're going to get your feelings hurt. You got your friend that is always going to tell you the right thing to do. That's the one you go to when you're challenged on what's the right thing to do. You got your business person. Everyone should have a bucket. Prayerfully, you don't have to want to do the bad stuff because we're coming up off of that, right? We're doing the right thing at the right time. That's integrity. We talked about that last week. All righty. Segment 2. It says how to identify the right one. All right. So I'll just read it. Questions to ask yourself. Do they value integrity like you do? We talked about integrity last week. Talking about it again today. Integrity basically meaning doing the right thing when no one's listening or watching or what have you, right? And so do they hold those same values as you do? Can they correct me without tearing me down? Sis, you look tired. I felt absolutely no way other than, but I wasn't upset because at the end of the day, I knew I looked terrible. I felt terrible. So it was in love. Do they clap when you win? I've gotten so many text messages saying, I'm proud of you. That's simple, but it's big, right? It don't have to be the whole roll out the red carpet, take you out for cocktail. It doesn't have to be all of that. It could be a simple, every now and again, I'm proud of you. I see you. Right? Or it could be the red carpet. Don't get me wrong, but you get my point. All right, here's some green flags. NAKA, here's the goal. Here's the goal. These are the ones to go with, right? They challenge you respectfully. Okay, see you working, see the flyers coming through, but are you resting? That's that respectful challenge. Didn't diminish the fact that I've done it. It was, I see you working, but are you resting? So it started off with some love and ended with some concern. Valid. They keep your business confidential. I mean, but don't get me wrong. Like when we say confidential, we mean in context, right? And so that means when it's good and it should be shared, they're sharing your stuff. Yo, I know this girl. She got a school. Woo, woo, woo. It's many a times I've come to events and he like, this the one I told you about that got to school. Okay, you talk about me. But then there's other things that I've said that hasn't gotten out because it's not time to. All right. And so certain business is super important and others, should be held accountable. Okay. They believe in collaboration over competition. I'm here. based on collaboration, right? Based on some of the things that he's extended to me. And I just try to, lend a hand out. There's really not much I can do for him because he's where he at. But there's other people that I collaborate with, and I try to be vessels to them because the same way I'm getting poured into, I try to be that. Matter of fact, I have two mentors right now that I've brought into my space, and they're going to run my after school programs. But here's the thing, they actually wanted to work and have their own community program, right? And so instead of me saying, well, go over there and do it, right? I said, listen, I have the space. I have the infrastructure that I've already done. You want to learn how to do it. I could use someone to do after school so I can go home at 3 o'clock, right? Because I've been doing this for 3 years, straight up from 8 to 5:30. This is a win-win. You come on in, pay a little small percentage, and I will mentor you, cultivate you. And if this works out next year, all you got you a program, one on my autistic side, one on my typical side. Both of these individuals wanted their own programs, and now essentially they have it with me as their covering. So my thing is, I'm being poured into, I'm going to pour into someone else. It just makes sense. Collaboration over competition. I hashtag that a lot because I really mean that. Now, here's some red flags. On the contrary, they're always comparing or competing. That doesn't need to be spoken about. I mean, you know when somebody is either competing with you or doing exactly what you're doing or comparing what you're doing, or the minute you say something, they're telling you what the next person is doing. Get out of here. They're not your besties, at least not in the business lane. Maybe they're good for this over here, but get them out your business pocket. Okay. All right. They love your ideas, but never share theirs. That's interesting. And they're only around when they need something. I watch those people. I am a quid pro quo. Okay. I'm not saying everything I give has to be reciprocated and vice versa, but I do watch, right? I don't count favors, but I do watch. And I watch on both sides. I watch to say, listen, if this person is pouring so much in me, what can I do to give back? Do I need to go volunteer? Do I need to show up? Like, what can I do? Because at the end of the day, quid pro quo, when you give to get, right? It can be beneficial. It can be cyclical so that everyone wins, right? And so I think you should be mindful. Some may disagree and feel like you counting favors, and that's literally not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you want to make sure that the person that's coming around you is not always leeching on you, is essentially what it is. They are giving back because they want to, and you're giving because you want to. Okay. Sis, just because someone is nice does not mean they are aligned. And as women, this is a big one. And then even for me, like, I watch people be nice to me, and my son says this a lot, and it's kind of starting to resonate with me. He said, Mom, you always, I gotta watch you, because you always go in and the person talking nice to you, and next thing you know, you going all in. You trying to make flyers for them. You're doing this, and then they show you who they are, and now is, oh, he corny, or whatever it is that I may say, and I noticed that. So now I'm learning to just kind of fall back and wait for the niceness to either subside or remain. And when I mean nice, I don't mean that they're just sweet. I mean they have integrity. I mean that they're respectful. I mean that they're not competing. I mean all the negative things that can steer me in the next direction. I have to wait for those things before I just consider you nice, right? And so, yeah, it's business. At the end of the day, we would like everyone. This was my motto. I just want everybody to just treat me how I would treat them. And so my thing would be, well, I'm gonna always hold you as nice until you prove me differently. Well, that didn't work out too well for me. As a woman in business, you have to be discerning. You have to pick up on the signs. And that's because you have to be discerning. And once you pick up on those signs, a zebra does not change their stripes too much. You need to be very mindful of that. That's why you give a little, you wait and you watch, you give a little. I'm learning this. And it's making me be a sharper businesswoman. Someone said to me Sunday, they said, you should start teaching a business course because you're very business savvy. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, because I don't take no junk like I used to. And at the end of the day, I'm not being mean. I'm not being nasty. I trust, but I verify. That's the one. Trust, but verify. Let me check your receipts. How many people have you done wrong? How many people do you owe money to? How many people did you sit and squat and then get up out of here? See, your track record will catch up to you. You just got to wait and sit back and watch. And so patience is a virtue because you got to let the people be who they're going to be. All right. Let's get to the next one. Segment 3. Where to find them? Where can you find these people? Well, don't go to church and try to find your business bestie. Now, let me digress. I did hire someone from church. Well, one thing that I did, and if she's listening, hey, Ayana. One of the things I did is I spoke with my pastor, and she, explained to me how to go about this thing to protect all parties involved. So I sought counsel. That's number one. Number 2, I openly communicated with full transparency. What do I mean by that? What that means is I said to them, if we go into this together, okay, this is how I am. I've been saying this to the people I've been hiring too, like, because it's a partnership. I tell them, listen, you all excited today, and Miss Nene is telling you her vision and all that stuff, and that's cute until I tell you something you don't want to hear. Because at the end of the day, I'm the leader. I'm not a boss. I told y'all about that before, but I still have to make decisions that have concern over the overall goal and where I want to see this vision go. And so the more you're buying into the vision, the more you have to understand that some things I have to put a stop to, some things I have to put in a parking lot, some things I can say, let's entertain that. But not all things are going to be a go because I know the big picture, right? And hopefully, the more I articulate the vision, the more people can say, this is probably not where we want to go. But, at the end of the day, I still hold that deuce, right? I hold that ace card because it's my brainchild. I can articulate it as much as I want, but as a creative, this thing is evolving. My businesses are growing because the more I see available, the more I want to ascertain to bring to my businesses. For example, digress a little bit. The gentleman that I met last week, they have 2 entities that I never thought of bringing to my school, my impact school, my micro school. And when they spoke to me Saturday and then we spoke today, oh man, as they're talking, I'm drawn how this thing can work out. Well, I've created the framework for the education and the sensory side. The other one does tech, right? I'm not going to give it up yet, right? Because we're still in conversation. But the other one does tech, and the other one does sports and recreation. We talk about kids on the spectrum now. Well, I know I got my soul stable. I know I have my horse company, but there's other things, right? And I can't do all things. I'm tired. Look, I got my multiple streams. I'm just waiting for them to start trickling in, get my little bucket. But the point is, I have my multiple streams, and I think at this juncture, I might have 7. That's the goal. You want 7. I think I might have maybe 6 or 7. I don't need more. But what I do need is collaborative opportunities that allows me to expand the program. And so with partnership, right, that will enable me to do that. See, sidebar, when I say partnership, this is something that I heard and I've been sticking by it. I'd rather have 35% of a few million than 100% of a couple 100,000. The math doesn't add up. The percentages don't percent. So when you think of things like that, it kind of takes you out that crab in a barrel mentality, the 100%, this is me. Like at the end of the day, these businesses are for my children. If something happens to me, my children and therefore children will have what they need. So if I grow it to the point where there's consistent residual, if I grow it to the point where there's enough to go around, why would I try to do it all myself? That's foolishness, and it's for sure crab in a barrel mentality. So I'm not on that. So with that being said, when we talked and we were building, and we're gonna follow up with some more conversations because this is what it's about, right? And so as we're talking and we're kicking it about it, I'm like, wow, like minded. I gotta still pray. I prayed about it. I'm still praying about it because again, we talked about this last week. We gotta go forth, let God go first, right? And so I haven't received 100% of the answer, but it's getting clear the more I'm taking my time and letting the thing pan out. All right. So where can you find these people? That's where I started. I've digressed, guys. I'm so sorry. But this thing is serious, like, because I don't know, I can't stress it enough. It's just so lonely. And I guess the reason why I don't want to, belittle it, nor do I want to belabor it, but I don't want to belittle the loneliness because we're not babies. But it can be the thing that makes you quit. And my goal as this edupreneur that I say I am, as this business and life coach that I say I am, as this serial entrepreneur that I say I am, is if this is your purpose driven path, right? I don't want you to quit. I want you to see through me that these are the ebbs, these are the flows, these are the challenges that you will surmise, right? And so once you do so, that's all it is. It's a hurdle. But what do you do with hurdles? You jump over them things. You might knock over the little gatey thing, right? I don't know what it's called because it ain't my thing, but you might jump and knock that over. Who cares? Keep going is another one. And then there's another one till you get to the point where you don't knock the little gatey thing over, right? Jump them hurdles, y'all. Anywho, where do you find them? Business communities. I've been told I was in this class about networking a couple months ago, and one of the things I'm not big on is really a whole lot of networking, which I got to get better at. But I remember at one point when I first got my MBA, I was going to the National Black MBA Association. I was meeting up at a few of those meetings. Those are great places. Now, again, in all of these worlds, you have to be discerning, but you may meet someone there, right, who's doing something that you're doing or something along the line, or not, but just in the entrepreneurial space, because they don't have to do exactly what you're doing, but you do want them to have the skin in the game so that it's relatable, right? All right, conferences and workshops. You can always meet folks there. Accountability groups, right? That's easy enough, I guess. You can find these things on Eventbrite, believe it or not. LinkedIn. Again, I'm going to say it again, discernment. Some of this stuff can be clickbait, meaning it show you some good stuff, then they trying to sell you something. So be mindful, but there are things out there, and places you can go and you can become, you can go to a coffee house. If you see somebody there every day around noon, here and there, they bring a client in, it looks like, right? You can peep game. When I first moved to Charlotte, I was an entrepreneur, and all I did was sit in Starbucks with my laptop and people watched. I was more so people watching. See what's the vibe, what's going on. And I would, bump and have a conversation here and there. And most of the people I met were entrepreneurs. And so you can do that. It's really just, but you got to come out your shell. You got to talk. That's what happened Saturday. Gentleman was in my school for another program that was there on Saturday. And I was just putting up some things on the wall because, I'm there. He mentioned something about autism. And here I go. What you talking about? What you doing with autism kids? Because that's my thing. And from there, the conversation just sparked. So that was me. My nosiness essentially got me a connect. So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Fingers crossed. Because I'm looking for good partnerships. Now in this case, they may not be my buddies per se, or maybe they will, but they could potentially be good partners to help me push impact forward. And that's what was prophesied over me on Sunday, yesterday at church. My bishop walked up to me. I'd be like, dang. I'm minding my eyes are closed. He walks up to me and he said, I'm talking to you. Look dead in my face. I'm like, he said, I know you have multiple businesses right now, meaning my 2 schools. He said, but the Lord told me to tell you that you are going to have a school in South Carolina, Obviously, North Carolina, Atlanta, Alabama, Virginia, West Virginia, and Tennessee. I couldn't believe it. Because the day before that, somebody had just asked me, are you interested in franchising your company or going into another state or anything? And I said, yeah, it's not off the table. I just need to build a big enough team so that when we go out of town, we can set it up and set it up right. Because I know I'd have to stay there for a while, cultivate it, get the DNA of it infused into the workers and all those things, keep a little bird's eye before I can pull it back. So that's going to require some infrastructure, some traveling that I have to be built for. And right now I'm not, but that's not off the table. So to hear that, then to turn around and hear my bishop say that, then get this, that was two. Come to work today to interview a young man for our teacher position. We hired him. Hey, we got our first teacher. But I interview him, and as we're talking, he say, this one blew me away. Because he's not a baby. I don't want to demean him, but he's much younger than me. Could be my son. He says, you know what? I just want to be here and be part of the vision because in the spirit, I see the Lord setting you up in multiple locations. 3 people in 2 days. Shut your mouth up. I said, heard it. All right, moving forward. If you're always the strong person, strong friend in business, you'll eventually become the silent one too. Now I'm reading this directly. You need a space where you don't have to perform, explain, or shrink. Your business buddy or bestie they don't complete you. He, she covers you. That's good. They don't have to complete you. You're going to do this with or without them, in essence, right? But with them, you're getting less wet. That's what a covering, if you think about an umbrella, right? With them, you get less wet. So in metaphorically speaking, when I'm speaking of wet, I was exhausted. That was one level of drip, drip, right? But imagine if I would have shut down or I got real sick because my body shut down on me. Now it's a flood. It's a freaking tsunami, right? But if I had that umbrella, the buddy to cover me, which I did, to say, get some rest. Now we eliminate getting soaked in the tsunami because I took heed. I'm going to do my business regardless. She doesn't make my business. However, I'm getting less wet because I'm covered. That's what a business bestie does for you guys. All right. I like that. And I hope you guys take heed to that. Like there's levels to getting wet. You're going to get wet, right? You think about it. When you go outside before you put that umbrella up, you get a little wet, but you don't get as wet as you would if you didn't have an umbrella, if you didn't have something to cover you, a poncho, anything of that matter. Okay. All right. How to nurture this relationship. This is something that I'm learning. And so, like I always tell you, none of this stuff is stuff that I've mastered or perfected. It is things that I'm either have gone through, and either I've come out of it on the other side and can tell a story, or I'm going through it and we'll tell you the story when I get there. So right now I'm going through this, right? I have a few people that I can consider, buddies in my business, right? Just a few. It's not just Kevin. It's a few others. One, he called me one day and said, what's going on? And I just said, I need help. And he ended up giving me a donation to pay for my rent at the school 2 months ago. That was big. Like, and I said, well, what do I got to give you? What do I want? And he was like, you don't need, listen, I want to see you grow. Now, if down the line I need space or whatever, I got you. Like, I'll be a knucklehead, not to, like, that's some real skanky stuff to be like, nope. No. You gave me something. I know we're in the same line. I know eventually you're going to need a room or two. I have you. Like, that's what this is about. And so cultivating these relationships are very important. So every now and again, I'll do a quick check-in on folks. Hey, even if they don't text me back. Hey, they come across my mind. Just think about you. How's it going? Send me pictures of your kids at your school. Send me pictures of your project that you're doing. That's just the way that I do it, because we can get so worked up in our own world and in our own work, right? That we forget about people. Then we look up when we need someone and we're like, well, you didn't cultivate that relationship, right? You didn't keep people in, not necessarily in the forefront, but you didn't keep them at least on the back of your mind, right? And let them know that they're still there. So, oh, I didn't know that. Set regular check-ins or venting sessions. I would be mindful of the venting sessions because nobody want to hear all of that. But if you have one or two, alternate. I gotta tell you something. Are you in the space? Here's what I would recommend though. Before you just go blurting it out, ask them if they in the space, because the reality is, if you're going through something, they've gone through something as well. Like, it's just the thing you never have, such as life. It's never smooth in business, such as life. It's always something you like. I thought we were on a good trajectory, and then boom, health department come in, right? I thought we was on a good trajectory, then boom, person take their kid out your school. This is my story, right? So, and that could be happening for the other person. You thought they were good, now they got to go to another venue. You thought they had they had it lined up. Now here they go switching over here because something happened last minute. It's always something in business. How you deal with it, how you handle it, how you go forth is what makes you the champion, right? All right. Set regular check-ins. Be a safe space too. This is my point. You've got to make sure you can, one, say, is this a good time? Do you have the mental capacity to hear this mess I'm about to lay on you? They may say no, and you got to be okay. In that case, go write it down, because journaling could be your business bestie as well. Hello. Sometimes you ain't always got to say it. You can write it, get it out, and be done with it. Because sometimes, filling somebody else's head up with a lot of things that sometimes can seem a little more trivial, can be, trivial. And so we want to get that out of there. Share resources, not requests. That's a big one. I got a person text me the other day and say, here goes some grants. I just got my 501c3. I was on the fence about that, so it wasn't like, it's not like I haven't had one before, but finally got my 501, and so I mentioned it, and the person was like, here goes some grants. They start on the 4th, so make sure you want it. At the same time, I gave him the game, like, listen, you need to sign up and be an ESA plus vendor, so children on the with developmental disabilities or on the autism spectrum, they can pay you for tutoring services. Like, game and giving game. So, I appreciated that. Celebrate each other intentionally. I'm proud of you. A brother just talked to him yet today. He gave me some resources. He gave me a list of, I needed this list. I couldn't find it. It was for payout reimbursements for health insurances. Can't find it anywhere online. And he had them all together. So I'm like, please, could you send me this list? It was like gold. And so I needed it for my other partners. Like, we need to look at that so we can make sure we're getting all the right services so we can build and scale, right? And so he gave them to me. So then I said, well, how's things going? Again, always want to ask people, well, how you, I'm not just calling and asking for something. How are you? Right? That's something I even learned from just being down south. Start off with good morning. How are you? Before you just jump in asking. New Yorkers would do it. Yo, what's up? Let me get that. Pump your brakes. Good morning. So I hit him. I said, I need, good morning. How are you? Really need that list, blah, blah, blah. He like, what list? End up sending the list. And then I said, well, what you got going on? Like, you've been quiet. We had met one Saturday and went over some things for the billing, but I hadn't heard from him in a couple of weeks. I mean, he's working. My man texted back and said, listen, I just got a hold of a motel over on Freedom and it's up. I'm like, what did you just say? He said, yeah, I got a hold. So now I'm asking questions. I got questions. Did you buy the motel? How did you get this connect? You know what he said to me? Just relationship building. I swear to goodness. The man got a whole hotel. He said because he does the billing. He does Medicaid billing and health insurance billing. Same thing I'm getting into. He said, yeah, I'm about to do it and use it for housing for people with substance abuse. Insane. I'm not hating. I'm so proud because here's what the thing is. My lane is not substance abuse. I mean, what would I get mad for? That's not my thing. If I want to do that, I would pursue that. Mine is children. Now, it did get my mind to run like more so in all, like, how did you get a whole motel? Probably how people think, how you get a whole school. I get it. So what's the first thing I said? Listen, we meeting, me and the two people that's potential partners. We're meeting on Friday to have a meeting. This is probably gonna be our finalized button it up meeting. Um, Love to extend it to you, buy you a cocktail. Because what, sir? I'm proud of you. I'm going to give you your flowers. I don't really know him like that, but what I do know is he's clearly about his business. And he said he's been at this for 3 years. I get it. I've been at this school thing for 3 years. I get it. I think I said this last episode, but I seen something on Facebook, probably the realest thing I ever seen. It said, overnight success is really the product of 5 years worth of work. Listen here, AKA there is no overnight success, AKA you've been working for 5 years maybe before you see, oh, she bust. I didn't just bust today. I've been doing this for 3-5 years. I deserve this, right? So he said, well, shoot, I'm doing good. I've been doing it for 3 years. I'm like, same. So please, Lord, let me not have to go to 5 years. This is tired. I've been working. But share resources, not requests, and celebrate each other. So I'm gonna go out and, I'm not drinking, but I'm gonna buy him a cocktail. We gonna talk because I know he's gonna give me more resources. I know it's gonna be a collaborative dialogue between us, and I'm just ready to be in the atmosphere, right? But this is how relationship building comes about. Right? I'm not, it is kind of a quid pro quo, even though he's giving me more, but to celebrate him is a reciprocity, right? It's to say, I don't know, because again, I know what you're doing. I know what the 3 years of grinding it out with no real, like, but you don't see the end, right, in sight. I know what that looks like when other people looking at you like, why don't you just give it up? Why would you even be putting yourself through this type of hell? I know what that looks like. So for you to tell me, even if you ain't get $1 yet, I know what it's about to be lit look like when you got that feeling like I'm right on the precipice of something giant. I was gonna say ginormous. That's why I tripped up. Ginormous. I know what that means and what that looks like. So you doggone right, I'm gonna celebrate. I want to be part of that. Not with him, but for him. And when it's my turn, do the same for me or not, because I'm going to celebrate me regardless. But you get my point. I hope they do. Let me not be negative. I hope the people that I'm building these relationships will celebrate me. But I have gotten a lot of congratulations lately, and I feel the sincerity. Okay. All right. Here's my closing thoughts. So who can you run to? Maybe the better question is, who runs to you? Be the friend in business you want to find. And when the time is right, God will place the right person in your path. I agree. I've been that person. Today a mother came in and she said to me, I really have this urge in my body. She's taking her son, mind you, let me set the page. She's taking her son out of my camp because he goes to a public school that she's found that really is doing it for her. She loves it. But I know if the school didn't do it, I mean, it's free. I know she would bring her kid to me. I know she would. But I like her as a person, and I like the value she's bringing. Girl Scouts to my school. This is something I wanted, and I can see this is what she really wants to do. And she wants to do preschool, which is not my lane, right? So she's really not a competition. And even if she was, there's so many autistic kids out here. There is no competition. So, and that's how I think. Player about it. So I said to her real cool and calm, I said, have you talked to God about it? Oh, many a times, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'll help you. She said, would you? I said, absolutely. Like, it's enough kids out here for all of us. It really is. And the need is greater. And if I really am about the impact that's made with these children on the spectrum and with our typical children, because Kingdom Kids is just as important to me, right? My kids go there. Why wouldn't it be? But yes, I will help you. And I could tell she was taken aback a little bit, but I'm like, listen, I like good people. I love people who love the Lord. I love people who, doesn't understand what true faith looks like, but knows what faith is. And so to be able to share my stories and to be able to share my business mind, you know, I know I'm gonna get that back in the end. I just do. And just her bringing and telling other people in the world that Tanisha is doing this, like that's big because the people she know aren't the people I know. So that's where that relationship piece comes in. All right. And so let me just call this to action. If today's episode hit home, share it with your business bestie, or maybe someone you think could be your bestie, right? Maybe you think, hey, let me throw this out here and see if they my people, right? Pray about it. See if they're your people. Don't make a fool out of yourself, right? If you're still looking for your circle, you could join my private group, Break Free with T Marie. I kind of have it. I have it on social media. You can find it on the link, and I can kick it with you. Like my time is limited, but I love talking. As you can see, I talked the whole hour with no break, but I enjoy sharing my ebbs, my flows, my knowledge, right? When I can, and so don't be afraid to inbox me and let me know, hey, I got a question or two. Don't be offended if I don't get right back, but I will. I am diligent in doing so. And I'm off for the next couple of weeks. All right, outro. You were never made to be alone, right? You were not built to be alone. Break free and build your own tribe. You can do that. It's possible. Until next time, y'all, keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Make sure you know who you are and whose you are, and God will elevate you in that space. Until next time, I'll talk to y'all.
Do you want